We also build data on the category. So if you keep saying, yes, I like video game ads, we start to know that you like video game ads. So when the player makes that call to the ad server to pull up the ad, it looks into the hierarchy that's there and says, okay, we know this is a guy. We know that he told us that he's 22, and we know that he has a propensity for video game ads. So that's going to rise to the top of the pile. So we're doing this not so that I can come to you guys and say, listen, I've got 15 million registered users who say they love video games, and then sell that to you at some ridiculously high CPM, much as I'd like to do that. Why we're doing it is so that your ads are just that much more effective. So when we look at online video in general, and then at Hulu specifically, the recall, and message recall, brand recall, likability, all of the key metrics that people look at tend to be almost double for the exact same ad seen in the exact same show on primetime broadcast and cable. So same 30-second spot for World of Warcraft that runs on Family Guy on air, that same spot on Hulu, double the effectiveness. So what we want to do is just continue to increase that effectiveness by making sure that we're targeting. And when you think about TV and the fact that I think there's 15 or 18,000 Nielsen households now that are projecting 115 million households in this country. And then you've got a website like Hulu, where 17 million people are projecting an audience of about 25 million. So we know so much more. We're able to put that ad in front of the right people and not put the wrong ads in front of them. And the other thing is, online video is held to a much higher standard. Like, people let us know when they see ads that they don't feel are targeted to them. If you're watching TV and you see an ad that's not targeted to you, you don't have that same sort of reaction. It's just something you take for granted when you watch TV. But online, it's held to a different standard. And we should be, which is why we're more expensive.
Well, because I'm sure there's people out there that want to hear a heartwarming success story about one of their competitors. You guys have some examples of successful campaigns ran through Hulu or Gamer Live, preferably games, but if you don't have a game one handy, just...
Well, I'll say that we, as I mentioned, the gaming category in general tends to outperform a lot of the norms. Not surprisingly, our audience is they're early adopters. They're going to be very receptive to gaming advertising. We're measured by Nielsen, and Nielsen IAG is what does that effectiveness study that I was just talking about. We also field Dynamic Logic and Insight Express custom studies for advertisers if the spend is enough and we find out what they want to find out about. So we just did one for a gaming client, and they were really concerned about click-through rate. And we're not really a click-through rate site. We're a branding site. We're a premium content site. People come there to enjoy great entertainment, great movies, great TV. They don't necessarily click away. That said, we actually have pretty decent click-through rates. And the one that we just did for, and I can't say who it was because we haven't presented it to them yet, but their click-through rate was almost double the Hulu norm. So, that's putting the right message in front of the right audience. The problem is you're always at the mercy of their creative. And if it's lousy creative, you can't present and say, well, the click-through rates suck because your creative sucks. Mm-hmm. But that's sometimes the case.
Yeah, I mean, we're working with companies like NVIDIA as an example, where we're also tying in and trying to make the content and the advertising more, kind of seamless. So, as an example, NVIDIA is trying to promote right now their 3D vision type of glasses. So one of the things that we're working with them right now is doing 3D content that will be able to be watchable online in 3D. And you can obviously use anaglyph, even make your own glasses. But obviously it's going to be positioning where, if you use the 3D vision glasses, it is going to look better. And it's not any bias or anything, it does look better. And so that's some of the things that we're working with different companies in the space to tie it in more with the content.
Capcom did something that was pretty phenomenal, actually. It was for Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles, which was a rail shooter. And they ran a YouTube campaign where the video that you were watching looked like a trailer, suddenly became interactive. I'm sure all of you guys checked it out. Became interactive. And I loved it, and halfway through it, I'm like, this is amazing, this is the future of advertising. And then suddenly it dawned on me that, it's recreating an interactive experience, and not necessarily on a robust level as the product. Do you guys think that that's an issue? Is these videos for video games being kind of a unique situation there with the product? These interactive campaigns have that risk, so to say, that people interacting with that video kind of feel like, well, is the game quality kind of what I'm seeing in this interactive video.
Yeah, for us, that's always been a challenge. Is you can't really recreate gameplay in an environment like that. So what we try to do to make it interactive is we've created some interesting units. There's one called an ad selector. So when you're getting ready to watch an episode of The Office, you'll see a slate that'll come up and say, which of these ad experiences do you prefer? And it could be 3 different weapons from a shooter game, or it could be 3 different characters from a different game and a role-playing game. And then that allows the user to interact with it and choose, well, this is the ad I want to see. And then the first break that they get to, it becomes that 30-second spot for that character or that weapon that they've chosen. And they feel more engaged that way, but it's not really replicating gameplay, but it's getting them involved in kind of the story of the game.
Well, and video has always been inherent in the marketing of games, and I think that that's important. But I think things like like Gaikai and this will actually change because I think that the one problem there has been is how do you represent gameplay? And video to date has been, I think, it's not the best, but it's been the way that's reflected the gameplay. Of course, it's highly edited, so it's not exactly what users get. But I think things like Gaikai will create opportunities where there's an instant call to action because as David was saying, if it's more frictionless, people will convert because people let them experience and let them figure out, is that a good game or not?
And I also think the technology of the games and the way they look and the way that they become so much more theatrical, it makes them more like content. It makes people more willing to watch long form, maybe a 5 or 6 minute kind of clip where they're not interacting with it, but they're watching it as if they're watching a theatrical trailer. So we have about 6 million trailer views a month on Hulu from our movie trailer section. So our goal is we want to build out, now that there is so much true content in the video game category, that's not gameplay, but it's mini stories. And I met a guy at a Ubisoft event that he'd been nominated for awards for these films that they created or using the characters from these games. And that's something that I think users are really interested in. It's really cool content. So the goal would be to build out something that's similar to that, just like a movie trailer page, but it would be all video game, short and mid-form content.
Yeah, and that's actually what work we are concentrating on is a lot of, it's kind of a travesty that you see the video game business and then you see Hollywood, and Hollywood is 1/5 the size, yet it gets all the glamour. And a lot of that is a lot of mainstream sees gaming as a niche, even though if you ask a lot of people, they play games, they just play it casually or they don't even think about it. So one of the things that we've been concentrating on is not just that hardcore shooter gameplay type thing that really is what game media is right now, but also to focus on the making of, the behind the scenes, the studio tours, so content that is about the making of the games, as well as celebrity. We do about 30% of the content that we produce is celebrity and athlete interviews, right? So like at the NBA All-Star game, we'll interview half the All-Star team, right? Or at the Madden Bowl, we'll interview, what we did this year, we interviewed a bunch of NFL players, or at Comic-Con, it's interviewing, the cast, but asking them, what did you play growing up? What are you playing now? And that's interesting because when you see, Jake Gyllenhaal talking about games, right? Or Wayne Gretzky talking about games, that's interesting. It connects with a different audience, and it's not necessarily trying to hit that hardcore gamer that's just interested in just the gameplay and, how many people can I kill, right?
So I'm a game marketer. I have $2.5 million burning in my pocket. I want to spend it on the Super Bowl.
Well, first of all, Rex, I would like to take you to dinner.
Okay, absolutely. That's a deal. We're in Napa. Couldn't think of a better place to be for that. Convince me that at least all that money, or at least a fraction of it, should go to your sites, or to online video in general.
I'll actually let Jim answer first, because since they had a unique Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, we're big believers in the Super Bowl. If anybody remembers it, we had a great ad that really put us on the map with Alec Baldwin, which launched our consumer campaign in the Super Bowl a year ago, and we just saw our traffic spike phenomenally. Actually, we also started putting all of the Super Bowl ads on Hulu in what we call the ad zone, and Super Bowl Sunday and the day after historically have been our highest traffic day. So Hulu's kind of become this destination to go watch all of those ads because they become, Betty White was just just off the charts this year. And so it's been really this amazing phenomenon because it's become entertainment. You know, the risk you run, I would say to you, with your $2.5 million bucks, is everyone rates those ads, whether it's on adage.com or it's on Hulu, it's out there, or YouTube, anywhere. It's out there for people to discuss and vote and thumbs up, thumbs down, and love, hate. And that's great if you have the Betty White ad. You know, if you're the 15th ranked one, not so good, right? And so it's a risk you take. It's a risk you take. And there's no denying there's nothing like the Super Bowl. And I used to work for ESPN, and we used to just die to have, you know, those kind of, you know, $2 million, $2.5 million, 30-second units. And there is nothing like that. You'll never get that kind of impact. The last Super Bowl reached 106 million people. Now, it's one 30-second spot, plus the viral life that it gets from Hulu and everywhere else. But that's it, right? So we could take probably 500 of your 2.5 and invest it pretty well on our sites. I can say 500,000 bucks on Hulu for a week would get you about a 6% share of voice, so which is a pretty good place to be, and you would reach an awful lot of people over the course of a week rather than a one shot. But like I said, we're big believers in the Super Bowl, and you know, God willing, we'll be there again.
Good. So
Yeah,
it
and
actually looks like I have 2 million left. So.
Yeah, I should have been a little more aggressive there, I guess.
Well, yeah, I agree with Jim totally. I think the Super Bowl is part of a bigger ad spend, and if put together, like, you know, GoDaddy, you know, is a great example of somebody who took something and they had an ad a few years ago that was too salacious for the Super Bowl, and they actually made it into a publicity event of, here's a Super Bowl ad, and we go to our website for what we can't show you on the Super Bowl ad, and they got a ton of traffic. But that was coordinated with an online, and it was coordinated with other integrated marketing pieces that made that all work. So if you're just going to go out there, and a few .com companies did do that, where they had $2 million and they spent $2 million on the one Super Bowl ad, that's not very effective. You know, on you know, our site or you know, a lot of the online video sites, you know, $2.5 million will buy you at least 6-7 billion ads, right? And you know, you could do that all once, but you could spread that over a year, or you can spend it with a much more comprehensive marketing campaign, and you're going to get a lot more. And unless you have the budget, which I would have to say, if you're going to spend a Super Bowl ad, you probably need to have a $20 million campaign, where that's a fraction of it, and it works effectively with other tie-ins, then, you know, that makes sense. And you know, for us, you know, like I said, we will probably deliver a much more targeted, highly converted, high ROI user than a Super Bowl ad. And I think most of the guys that are doing Super Bowl ads, you know, the big companies like the Budweisers or the Doritos, it makes sense because those are billion-dollar brands where it's not necessarily about, oh, are they going to buy chips or are they going to buy beer? They're going to buy the beer or chips, right?
And those guys are in flight 52 weeks a year, too.
Yeah. They are more about, hey, it's part of a $200 million campaign selling billions of dollars of product, and I think it's effective for that.
So I think it kind of circles back to what we said at the beginning, which is online video is a great complement to TV. It makes the TV ads work harder, and the ads themselves, video ads online, are more effective than their counterpart ads, you know, on TV, and that, you know, it should be looked as a great way to also reach. I kept hearing a lot of people talk about this, and we've got the hardcore gamers. So if you look at a combination of what Rex is doing and what we're doing at Hulu, you've got that 1-2 punch of, here's the hardcore guys that we know we can reach, and we really want to sell them and have them evangelize to all of their friends. And then you've got the broad reach play, which is television and Hulu, where it's maybe the more casual crew that you've got to get to grow. You've got to get to grow the industries to bring in those new users. So I think it's a pretty effective combination.
The wall between video game marketers and consumers has crumbled.